Let's talk about the influence edge. How can you bring more impact to your communication and influence others by having an edge? What does it mean to have an edge? And we're going to talk a little bit about the message to get started. Because how we organize our message, whether it's for prepared presentations or impromptu conversations, whether it's a panel, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a hallway conversation, we need to influence. We want to influence. But at the same time that we want to influence, we feel this desire to have purpose and to connect and to speak with meaning. We also need to create dialogue and make sure that that influence is inclusive, that we're bringing other people in. So having influence in general is a two-way street. It's not, how do we call it? It's not like powering through. It's not, taking the field machine and plowing through. It's really about understanding, being prepared, so understanding your message, being the expert. So how do you become the expert? It's obviously education, it's experience, it's curiosity, it's communication, trying things out, failing, coming back to ground zero. There's so many elements to becoming the expert. So first we have to be that expert by being prepared, okay? Doing everything we can to be ready for communication. And when it comes to the content, believe it or not, even for that impromptu communication, we have the opportunity to be prepared. It's just about time. We have to sit down and we have to outline. We have to think ahead. Who are we speaking to? What kind of questions will they have? What kind of pushback will we get? Because all of this preparation allows us to be ready for the communication. And even in a prepared remarks, a presentation, it allows us to adjust and adapt to the feedback, the response we're getting, so that we're not always stagnant. We're not always saying the same thing. What we have to say, what we think evolves as we evolve, as our understanding of what we're communicating changes. As we get more information, we adjust. As we get different questions, we adjust. As we experience different responses, we adjust. So that's really a lot about the influence edge, right? This idea that I can be influential in my message, my content, by being attuned, by being prepared, by being educated, by being experienced. And really, another thing I want to say about influence is it's about caring. We have to care. And if we don't care about what we're doing, then we're not doing the right thing. And if we care about what we're doing, but we feel like we don't have time to care, then we have to go deeper into the things that I just talked about. The education, the experience, the curiosity, right? So it always comes back to ourselves, making sure we're doing the right thing, we know the right amount of information, that we're communicating with the right people. And then, of course, when we talk about message and we talk about prepared speech, we have to understand the structure. Just like a good essay has an introduction, a body, a conclusion, we need to have that in our formal speech. Once we understand structure, we can go outside of that structure's lines, but we have to start by understanding structure. So introduction, you have to catch me, you have to grab my attention. How are you going to do that? I opened up today by talking about the influence edge, having the edge. I'm sure that grabbed your attention. So a hook or an opening remark has to be dramatic. It has to be a question. It has to be a statistic. It has to be interesting. And you can keep coming back to these types of hooks throughout your message. You want to be able to do that. You need to be able to do that. Once you have your opening hook, you've got to tell me what you're going to talk about, right? Tell me your purpose. Why are you here? Give me a preview. Give me some idea. What are 3 things we're going to talk about? Again, using the structure of a formal essay for our formal speech. And then we get to the body, where we get into the details. We go deeper into those points. And then in the conclusion, we're going to reiterate what was our purpose, what were the things we just talked about, and maybe we're even going to go back to that hook. Mention the influence's edge, right? Having the edge. Influence edge. So that's the prepared speech. Now, of course, when we are on panels, when we receive questions, when it's more impromptu, there's a whole other set of ideas that we think about. We think about, how are you going to speed that up? How are you going to state your point of view, find a hook or some kind of data point, some kind of story, some kind of definition, some way of backing up what our point of view is? Just illustrate. We got to illustrate. No matter what, we have to illustrate. So, for example, if you asked me, just going to choose a random topic, if you asked me to talk about, let's say you wanted to talk about the joy of cooking, just random topic, and I had a minute, I might start by saying, the joy of cooking starts with color. Why? Because when we eat, first we see, and we see color. So whether you're going to go monochrome or you're going to go with multiple colors in your food, always think about bringing joy to the plate and joy to those you're serving by thinking about color. That's the joy of cooking. So maybe I spoke for 30 seconds or 40 seconds, but I took the idea, I came up with one idea, right? This idea of color, and then I brought it to life. I gave you some options, some ideas, and then I also brought it back to the idea of color and the joy of cooking. That you can do with anything. And when you practice the impromptu message, you need to practice simple topics before you get into economics, before you get into healthcare, before you get into customer service, dealing with customers, right? So you've got to start with what's easy so you master the tool itself. So what did we talk about today? We talked about the influence edge and ways you can be influential in your speech by being educated, having experience, being curious. We talked about a little bit about the formal message, how to organize it by thinking through a formal essay. And then we talked about speeding it up. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you can use it already. And I want to invite you to like, share, and subscribe to today's video. And thank you so much for being here. Bye.